so today we're just going to do a quick little Perfumery software review. Now, there aren't many softwares out there for Perfumery. There are a couple. So I'm going to cover one in this video called Parfum Pro. There are a couple of other softwares out there, and there's also some spreadsheets people have made to help you do your formulations. So maybe I'll cover those in a future video, but today we're going to be talking about Parfum Pro. So I found out about this software on a forum called Base Notes, which is really good for Perfumery. So if you don't already use that, I would recommend it. And this post was from 2014. And basically this guy was saying, hey, I've made some software for Perfumery, which sounds really good. So this is something that was made in 2014. If you go through the post, you can kind of see that they go up to about 2015. So it seems like it was developed at that time. If you want to get the software, all you've got to do is go to Google, type in Parfum Pro, and you just click on the first link. You can press download and you will get that thing. 5 seconds, this little bar goes down, you can download it, and that will start downloading. Once you've downloaded that folder into your downloads, I've got that here, you can basically just open it up. You have to unzip it and then you'll get a little exe. So this is something that is only going to work on Windows. If you've got a Mac or a Linux, unfortunately you're not going to be able to use this software, though you could get an emulator if you wanted to use it. Anyway, so let's open it up and see what it's all about. Right, so here is the opening screen. Now, I have to say this software wasn't the easiest to use in the world. But we're going to go through and see what's in it. So to begin with, we got this index thing. Now, I'm pretty sure what this is just like a list to keep track of all the materials. There is this massive collection of materials, most of which you definitely won't have, already put into the app, which I think is really good because it means there's a good chance if you want something, you'll be able to find it. I don't know, let's do an example like Hedione, search. And there we go, it's there. So a lot of the stuff you're going to use for Perfumery is already into this library, which is a really nice feature. So once you've found that, you can put it into your inventory, which is the next stage. I'll go to the inventory in a minute. But if you didn't find the material you wanted, you can always go and add one. So for example, I'm going to press new. I think you just type a name, so like material 1, let's say. And you just like add all the stuff you want. There is something here which is that you assign tags to materials. So you've got these categories like fruity, green, fresh, sweet, which you can select. One thing that I don't like so much is you can't actually choose these categories yourself. So you have to use the ones that are already in the app. And as you can see, there aren't actually that many categories. But that aside, you can put in stuff like density, some substantiality, which is meant to be how long it lasts on the scent strip, essentially things like the boiling point. So let's say it's 100, the IF rate percent, let's say it's allowed up to 5%. So you've got a chance to put in a lot of info about your materials here, and you've got a chance to make notes. Then I guess you press save, and maybe that works. Well, it didn't. Okay, let's try again. So new, add a name. Let's add some stuff. Right, save. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what's going on. Basically, there is some way you can add new materials to the library, but this is one of the problems with this app is it's not super obvious how to use it. Maybe if you go through that forum that I was looking at where the guy posted about the app, there might be some better instructions. One thing I did notice is if you press new and then immediately after add to inventory, the app just kind of crashes. Anyway, so now we're going to go to the inventory, and what we've got here is all the stuff that I've added. So I went on this app just before I made the video to test it out, and we've got the Hedione, which is something we just added from the index. So the idea is the index keeps all of the materials you know about, and the inventory keeps track of those you have. And once it's in your inventory, you will put things like variant. So maybe it's a certain type, like a pure form that you got. Maybe it's a certain supplier, like my supplier. And let's just say you've got 10 milliliters, you can put that in, say cost you, like $5 Canadian. You can put that in, calculates how many dollars per milliliters, which I think is a nice little feature. I don't really see the point of having drops per milliliter, but I guess some people might use it. So we've got that. And again, the important thing on this app is you actually have to press save. The reason this is important is because if you make changes, so like the supplier, and then you just click away, it doesn't actually automatically save it. You can see it just deleted what I wrote. So again, I think that's one of the bad features about the app, that you always have to save everything after you do it. But anyway, that's only a minor inconvenience. So let's go on to the next tab, which is compositions. Now this tab I did have trouble with, but we're going to try again. So I think what you're meant to do is press new, and then you get like a new formula, essentially. Save? Yeah, right. So I pressed save and it went into the formula. The issue I had was I'm not so sure how to add new ingredients. So you've got this line here, and you can put in, say, 100 milliliters of Hedione. By the way, for anyone doing their perfumery, I would really recommend you do stuff in grams instead of milliliters if possible. But yeah, so you've added Hedione here, and we want to add a new line. So I guess maybe we can, oh right, perfect. So we search the material we want, which is all the materials in our inventory, and then we can just click one, and then there we go. That's going to add a new one. So let's say we have 50 grams of that, and this is nice. So look, it's worked out the percentage already for you, which is good, because especially some of the people on my channel who sometimes watch and ask questions about how to do the certain maths for things, something like this could be really helpful. And that's because you just put in the amounts, the numbers you see directly on your scales, and it will do the maths for you. So you can see how on this page you can make all of your formulas and keep a collection of them. If you're someone who finds it hard to stay organized in perfumery, definitely consider an app like this, because I think it could save you a lot of trouble in the long run. I have to say, this app does seem to have a bit of a learning curve, but I do think that if you got into it and you knew what all the buttons did properly, then it's probably going to be fine. So next we've got a tab called batches. I'm not super sure what this does. I think it's just that if you make a formula, you will track each individual batch you make up. That could be useful if you're, say, selling your perfumes and making 10 at a time, and you want to keep track of different things about the batches, like what date you made them. So I do quite like this feature, because I think this is something that not all perfumery apps or management systems are going to have. I don't really know how to use this, but I assume it's as simple as you select a formula or something. Right, so we've got a formula here we just made, and we're going to say, I guess each bottle is 50 ml, and we're going to do like 10 bottles or something. So yeah, I have no idea what's going on. New copy. No. Well, let's ignore that. But the idea is there is a way to make batches. So, you know. Now, this thing's kind of cool too. So you can actually do this thing called a comparison game, which is where you keep track of what you think the best ratio is between materials. So you can type in your materials here. I don't know why, but for some reason only one material is showing up for me. Maybe if you had more materials in your inventory, maybe more would show up on the smelling game. Well, I don't know. Maybe if you type it in. Yeah, so again, it's a bit buggy, but the idea would be, in theory, that if you, say, had two materials that were different, and you decided that 1 gram of this material balances with 2 grams of the next material, I think you do 1 to 2, and you press save, and it saves for you a ratio of those two materials to each other. So in this case, it's a bit confusing because I both put the same material. But what you can do is you could imagine that using this method, you can really get a much better idea for how your materials balance with each other. And that might help you when you're formulating to do less trial batches, because you've kind of got a record of what's stronger, what's weaker, what kind of ratios of different things you need to balance. So finally we've got a settings thing as well. Right, so the one thing that does annoy me about this is unfortunately there's no way to change the quantities from milliliters to weight. So you can't change from milliliters to grams. And I think it is in general quite important to do perfumery in grams instead of milliliters. That said, it doesn't actually make any difference to the program. You can just use the program with grams, and every time it says milliliters somewhere in this app, you can just imagine it saying with grams instead. I did find another thing, which was, for some reason, if I press this, it just seems to like crash the whole app. But you know, that is just a minor detail. Oh shit. Okay, so basically it's crashed now. I don't know how to fix it. Let's summarize the review then. So what's the good, what's the bad? Well, the good is that it's free, so you can just download this without having to pay anything. So even if you download it and you don't like it, you can try it out. Another good thing is it does all the maths for you. So I do think that is quite useful, especially if that's something that you don't like doing yourself. And it does actually have a good amount of features. I would think with a formulation software, a bare minimum, what you really want is somewhere to put your ingredients and somewhere to make the formulas. But there is actually more in this software. There's also the ability to do things like batches, and there's also the ability to use, I think, formulas that you've made in other formulas. And there's also that game that you can do where you compare the strengths of things. And I think that, again, is a really good feature, and it's nice for getting to know your raw materials. However, that said, there are, I think, unfortunately, quite a lot of bad points about this app as well. Firstly, the UI is pretty bad, I'm not going to lie. It makes me think I'm in 2003, loading up Windows XP for the first time, that kind of thing. The other thing is there are a lot of bugs and crashes. So as you saw, you can press certain buttons. Maybe you weren't meant to press them in that order, but it's quite easy just to get a random crash. And especially a crash like this, where I've tried to reopen the application and I can't open it again. I think that's quite worrying, because if you spent a lot of time putting all your data in the app and then you opened it and one day it just couldn't open anymore, that does suggest to me that, you know, maybe your data is at risk of getting lost or something. So it would be kind of, I don't know, I don't think I would trust it myself. The other thing is it's kind of unclear how to do basic stuff. So just to make a batch, for example, I couldn't work out how to do it. Working out how to make a formula took me a little while. Things like that. I also couldn't work out properly how to get the other materials into that, testing the different concentration levels, that ratio comparison thing. One other thing also is it's Windows only. So if you're a Mac or a Linux user, you're not going to be able to download the app unless you get an emulator. And one final feature which I did notice, it's probably quite a small thing, but I actually think it's quite a big thing. And that is the fact that all of the categories are hard-coded. So you've only got a very small selection of things like woody, floral, green, for example, which you can label your raw materials with. But the problem is, I think, as you become a bit more advanced as a perfumer, you kind of create your own categories of how you would organize in your head the raw materials. And if you're going to have any system of organizing your raw materials, you want to be able to make that conform with exactly how you see it in your head, rather than arbitrarily being kind of stuck to a limited amount of categories which don't really properly actually explain what it is for each individual case. Because say I had a material that was halfway between green and woody, I'm not allowed in this case to create a new category called green and woody. I could make the material in this app both green and woody, but say I had a material that was ozonic, and in this case there is no category for ozonic, so I don't understand how I'd be able to categorize it in the app. Anyway, that is my rundown on this app, my testing out. I might do some more videos on some other perfumery software in the future, so let me know in the comments what you think about those. Also, let me know what kind of features you would like to see in a perfumery software. That's something that interests me quite a lot, as my day job is a software engineer, so it is something that I'm interested in. Anyway, apart from that, see you soon with another video and enjoy the rest of your day.